everyone, welcome to Universal Group of Institutions. I am Lavanya. In the last video, we discussed about the third chapter of NCERT 7th grade, which is heat. And now, in this video, let's discuss about the following chapter, that is acid, bases and salts. So let's begin by understanding what makes a substance acidic, basic or neutral and why these properties matter. So what are acids? Acids are substances that release hydrogen ions when dissolved in the water. So when acids are added into the water, they release H plus ions and they taste sour and they turn blue litmus paper red. And so for example, hydrochloric acid, which is found or released in our stomach to break down the food during digestion. Second, sulfuric acid, which is used in car batteries and industry. Third, citric acid, which is also found in the citrus fruits like lemon or oranges. Now, let's understand what are bases. So, bases are the substance which release hydroxide ions when dissolved in the water. For example, sodium hydroxide, which is used in soap and detergent making. Second, calcium hydroxide, which is used in whitewashing. And third, ammonium hydroxide, found in household cleaning solution. Yes, so acids are the substance which release H plus ions when released in the water, and bases are the substance which release OH minus ions when dissolved in the water. Now, let's look into their key characteristics. That is, if we talk about acids, acid release H plus ions when they are released in the water and they taste sour and they conduct electricity in solution. So when the acids are added into the water, they release the ions H plus and become a good conductor of electricity. And they also react with metals to produce hydrogen gas. So when acids reacts with bases to form salt and water. Then we will talk about the bases. Bases release OH minus ions when released into the water or when added into the water. So the bases taste bitter and they are slippery or soapy in nature when we touch them. And they also conduct electricity in solution. When bases are added into the water, they release OH minus ions and become good conductor of electricity. When these bases react with acids, they form salt and water. So, the both acids and bases can conduct electricity because they produce ions in water. Now, how do we identify whether a substance is acidic or basic? We use indicators. So, the indicators can be natural or synthetic, which change color depending on the pH of the solution. So, let's look at some of the natural indicators. So, these indicators are essential tool that change color to identify the nature of a solution. So, some of the natural indicators are, we'll talk about the litmus first. Litmus paper or litmus. So, this is extracted from the lichens. So, they turn red when they are encountered with the acid and they turn blue in the base. So, most widely used indicator is the litmus paper. Second, we'll talk about the turmeric. So, the turmeric turn yellow or they stay yellow when they encounter acid or the neutral solution, but changes into red when they encounter or when they add it to the basic solution. So it is a great household testing. So sometimes you might find a soap stain which looks like reddish in color on the turmeric cloths. And the third one is China rose, which is also known as hibiscus. Hibiscus flower petals are also used as an indicator. So they turn pink in acidic and they turn green in the basic solution. So indicators work by detecting the presence of H plus or OH minus ions through color change. Now comes the major concept or an important concept of this chapter, that is the neutralization reaction. When an acid reacts with base, the hydrogen ions form the acid and hydroxide ions OH minus from the base combine to form water, which is H2O. The other part forms a salt. So this reaction also releases heat. It's an exothermic reaction. It is an exothermic reaction. So when acid, which is H plus ions, plus the base OH minus ions are added, they produce salt, water, and also liberate heat, which is an exothermic reaction. So I can write an equation as HCl hydrochloric acid plus NaOH sodium hydroxide give rise to NaCl, which is sodium chloride plus H2O water plus heat is liberated. So both acidic and basic properties are neutralized here. That's why it's called a neutralization reaction. And the indicator used over here is known as phenolphthalein indicator. So it turns colorless in acid and pink in base, and it helps us to visually see the neutralization end point. Okay, so it stays colorless in acid and turn pink in base, showing the end point of the neutralization reaction. So this concept isn't just theoretical, it's everywhere around us. So let's see how neutralization works in the real life. Indigestion relief. So excess stomach acid, or which is HCl hydrochloric acid released in the stomach, we feel discomfort or pain. To overcome this, antacids, the antacids like milk of magnesia or magnesium hydroxide is taken to neutralize the excess of acid produced in the stomach and to feel the relief. Next, in the ant bite treatment. So ant inject formic acid when they bite. So applying a mild base like sodium bicarbonate, also known as or commonly known as the baking soda or calamine lotion, neutralizes the acid, so reducing the irritation or the pain. And soil treatment. In the soil treatment, sometimes soil becomes too acidic because of overuse of fertilizers. So farmers quickly add the quicklime or the slacked lime. Quicklime, which is CaO, and the slacked lime, that is so if soil is too basic, they add organic matter to release the mild acid and to balance the acids. Second, factory waste management. So many factory releases acidic waste which harms the aquatic life. So before disposal, bases are added. Bases are added to neutralize the acids and which can protect the water bodies or the aquatic life. So how do we measure the acidic or basic concentration? We have to connect this with the pH scale. The pH scale measure how acidic or how basic a substance is. It have a range from 0 to 14. pH less than 7 is acidic in nature and pH more than 7 is basic in nature, and pH which is equal to 7 is neutral. For example, the lime juice which has pH of 2 is known as acidic in nature, and a soap solution which has a pH of 9 is a basic in nature. But a pure water what we drink, it has a pH of 7 equal to 7. So maintaining correct pH is crucial. If we talk about human body, the blood pH must remain near 7.4. When we talk about agriculture, the soil pH affects the crop growth. So in environment, acidic rain which has the pH of greater than 5.6 damages the vegetations, monuments and aquatic ecosystem. So when we'll talk about the acids and base, the pH concept also as important as them. So now to summarize what all we talked about in this particular video, let's look into them. So we know about what is acids and what are bases. Acid release H plus ions when dissolved in the water, and bases release OH minus when they dissolve in the water. So acid are sour and the bases are bitter. So acid and bases are a good conductor of electricity when they are released ions. So they are both good electricity conductors. Second, indicators. Indicator or indication tools help us to identify whether the substance is acidic or basic. So the natural indicators are litmus, turmeric and China rose, which is also known as hibiscus, help us to understand whether substance is acid or a base, where through a simple visual identification of a substance nature. And then neutralization reaction. So neutralization reaction which leads to the production of salt, water and liberation of heat. When acid and bases react together, they produce a salt, water and heat is liberated. They neutralize the solution. So the reaction forming salt and water is vital for health, which is antacids and environmental safety for soil and waste treatment. So application range from health to agriculture, agriculture to industry. And the pH balance is vital for both living system and the environment. So the pH values, which is ranging from 0 to 14. As I said, the substance which is containing pH or has the pH more than 7 are basic in nature. So the pH equal to 7 is neutral. So the pH scale values from 0 to 14. Acid is below 7, base is above 7 and neutral is 7. This is an important concept for the UPSC aspirants or any of the other competitive exam. So, if you find this video informative, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you.